So today may have been one of the best days ever for quantum stocks in the stock market. The publicly traded quantum companies saw the most love they've seen in a long time, and it was across the board. It was a fascinating thing to watch unfold, and this was a steady rally basically from market open to market close. And I want to go over some of the reasons why, some of the tailwinds in the industry that are happening. I want to go over just the stock market in general and the news surrounding it and potential catalysts. Talk a little bit also about potential future catalysts, because I think everything right now is sort of in this zeitgeist or this FOMO, like we're in this euphoric period. But there's still some very real things in the pipeline for quantum coming even in 2025. We can see from these quantum pure play companies that they're creating amazing headlines. They're making progress all of the time. And we see 4 of the 7 big tech companies are in the quantum race as well. So it is a really fascinating period of time and fascinating period in history. So today I'm going to go over the markets and some news, and then I'm going to do price analysis on roughly 5 or 6 quantum stocks and BigBear.ai as well, which I think is an interesting AI and defense play in the market right now that seems to be gaining momentum and potentially setting up for some growth. So let's take a look at all of that and let's jump right in. All right, so we can see that despite the quantum sector with all of its tailwinds today having incredible gains across the board, the market in general was pretty flat. We see that Apple actually ended down, Meta barely inched a gain, Amazon was up 1%, Google had a decent day, but there was a lot of sell-off. And if we actually look at the QQQ, which is the representation of our tech and our NASDAQ. So on the day, the NASDAQ posted a 0.19% gain. And we see that it was somewhat volatile. It went up and down a little bit. And then there was some sharp sell-off right at market close, where some of these quantum stocks were actually even higher and were pulled down a little bit at the end. And we can see that on the RSI that we're oversold. So what happened in the quantum market was truly incredible today. Congratulations if you're a quantum investor and you own some of these names. I personally own all of these and I'm in them long. So I know I say it on this channel a lot, but I'm not too concerned with daily price movements because I'm in it for the long haul. But it's nice to see that the market is giving some of these stocks some of the attention I think they deserve. So IONQ had a 37% day. I think at one point when we look at the chart, I think it was up 40+%. Rigetti was up 27%. QBTS, which has already made some insane gains, was up another 24%. I just want to point out that prior to earnings, this stock was trading at $6.80. Absolutely incredible. QUBT, which exceeded expectations on earnings and has traded higher and lower, and there's still some mystery around that ticker, had a 14% gain, and LAES, we've talked about on the channel, 7%. And we see that down the quantum watch list for the most part, we had some green. And just following up on ARQQ, they didn't quite meet expectations on earnings. So there was a little bit of sell-off, but not as sharp of a sell-off as you would think. I think that the quantum sector in general helped keep ARQQ afloat. So what news, what catalysts are going into this surge? Well, we had IONQ CEO, essentially what he said is, we're in the business of quantum, just like Nvidia and Broadcom are in the business of classical GPUs. I believe IONQ will be the next Nvidia, the Nvidia player. There will be other people that try to copy us and follow us. They've always copied and followed us. Now, this isn't anything new, but it's like the market was listening. In fact, I've personally covered the CEO here, Niccolo Di Masi, has gone on Fox Business or Bloomberg or one of the other big networks and basically said this: we're going to be like Nvidia, but perhaps today, with all the other tailwinds in the sector, investors were listening with a little bit sharper of an ear. So we also know that another tailwind is the Qatar $1 billion investment in quantum computing. So Qatar plans to put $1 billion over the next decade into a private quantum company, Quantinuum, and quantum computers, which have had some recent breakthroughs but aren't commercially deployed yet, rely on physical properties of atoms to create more powerful software than those that rely on ones and zeros. So Qatar's $1 billion pledge surpasses all other government investments in the field. The initiative has been more than a year in the works and aligns with US President Donald Trump's approach to the Gulf, emphasizing deep collaboration in technology. So we also saw the big pivot from Nvidia. If you look back just to January of this year, the CEO was basically saying quantum was 15 or 30 years away. And then Mark Zuckerberg on Joe Rogan just a few days later was like, yeah, it's probably 10 or 15 years away. And investors got very fearful that that was too far away, and they pulled their money out en masse. Everyone ran for the exits. But there was a lack of actual meat to that bone, because as we see, there's a lot going on in quantum computing today, and this technology is rapidly progressing. And we can see that in the case study of DWAVE and how they've been able to commercialize their quantum annealing technology today. Nvidia announced the opening of a global research and development center for business by Quantum AI Technology, which hosts Abqaiq, the world's largest supercomputer dedicated to quantum computing. So, delivered by Japan's National Institute of Advanced Industrial Science and Technology, the Abqaiq supercomputer features 2,000 Nvidia H100 GPUs interconnected by Nvidia's Quantum 2 Infinity Band. This is probably the most important thing, is Nvidia changing their tone, Nvidia talking about it in the keynote, Jensen talking about it in the keynote, Jensen saying we're going to, the computers are going to look like CPUs, GPUs, and QPUs. I covered that on the channel on a recent video. And that's really one of the main catalysts here. NVIDIA's a $3 trillion company, and they're a leader in this space. And if they're saying that quantum is going to be part of their compute stack, then it adds a lot of credibility to the push that's happening in tech for this next generation of computing. So Tim Costa, who's the senior director of computer-aided engineering, says, we're seamlessly coupling quantum hardware with AI supercomputing, which will accelerate and realize the promise of quantum computing for all. NVIDIA's collaboration with AIST will catalyze progress in areas like quantum error correction and application development, crucial for building useful accelerated quantum supercomputers. So we like the sound of that because we like computers. And before we go into price analysis, I do want to take a second and just say, we know there's a lot of outstanding legislation right now. We know there's bipartisan support for bills in Congress right now, like the Quantum Reauthorization Act. And there was a bill that was put forward by the Department of Energy to add more funding to quantum research. There's been, even last night on the channel, there's been push from private and public to basically, we're telling the government, hurry up, invest in this. We're falling behind. We're talking about research where other countries or other players around the world are talking about commercial applications. So by investing in quantum, what's so nice about this is that the market is filling a gap that the US government isn't currently doing. And the US government is falling short of funding the appropriate amount of quantum research. So when we see these huge inflows of private investment today into quantum, as somebody who really loves quantum computing, it makes me excited because, yeah, it's nice to see some profits in the portfolio, but more importantly, I think it's important that we as a country are on the leading and cutting edge of technology. If we lose this race, then it could have potentially economic impacts that are negative in the future. So I just want to say that, like, by investing in quantum computing, we are helping out. We are part of the solution, not part of the problem. So congratulations, pat yourself on the back. In no particular order, we're just going to start with IONQ, who was the screaming winner of the day. So we're going to look at the day chart, and we close Wednesday at 33.54. And I just want to show you this move. This rally was a 45% rally, and we closed with that end of day market sell off at 37%. So let's get some context. Why is this move so crazy and so important? Well, look back 6 months. Look at this. Look at the story that's unfolded right before us. And it's beautiful because it's in the charts. So prior to Jensen's comments, this company, the free market, had priced it around $50 to $52 a share. And then it came crashing down. IONQ came all the way down to $28 a share. It bounced a few times here and then came up and held this $44 price point before selling off in a super challenging macro. And then look how long it stayed below a $28 price point. Very long time. Most of all of March and most of April. And then finally got through this 28 and 36. And I've been talking about the importance of getting through 36 because it's rejected so many times off 36. And what did we do today? We just exploded all the way up to 44 with all of this price history between 36 and 44. IONQ is like, I don't care. We're just going back to the nosebleeds. So this makes me think, wow, this is such a bullish setup for IONQ going forward. The chart is telling you everything you need to know there. Really incredible move from IONQ today. They are the winner of the day on the quantum watch list with a 36.5% gain. Now let's take a look at LAES, which is a quantum cybersecurity play. A lot of you might not know about this company, but essentially they're a smaller company in Europe that's working on post-quantum solutions. And they're actually cheaper right now. Prior to the quantum crash, they were trading around $7 to $10. And they've fallen down pretty considerably. And then they've been really just stuck under this 388. And I've called out this 388 number so many times on the channel. And of course, we closed below 388, and in post, we're at 383. So for me to be convinced that LAES is actually in a bullish reversal, I'm going to need to see it break through 383 and hold above. All right, QUBT. So QUBT has been on a little bit of a roller coaster ride. So they posted earnings. Wall Street really liked it. Investors really liked it. Prior to earnings, the stock was trading anywhere from $6 in the past month up to $9 prior to earnings. And then we've gapped up to $12. And we've kind of been in this price range between 10 and 1281. And I think there was a nice little sympathy rally today for QUBT. And I would expect that QUBT is probably going to retest this resistance and maybe just hang around in this channel unless there's significant catalyst going forward for QUBT. Now, QBTS, this one, it just continues to amaze me. DWAVE continues to amaze me. If we look at the chart, and oh man, there's a lot of drawings on there. They help me tell the story, and I know it's kind of ugly, but I just want to show you guys. So during the peak of the quantum frenzy, we were at 1034, 10, maybe almost 11 and a half dollars. Then we sold off in the quantum crash, and it was $3.68 a share in the peak of fear after the quantum crash. And then it slowly picked itself back up and kind of sold off going into earnings. No one believed, no one really had high expectations. And then quantum supremacy around here is announced. The stock is halted. The stock screams up on revenue guidance. And then we had a really challenging macro, and everyone kind of forgot that DWAVE said, oh, we're going to have all this extra money. And so the stock could be picked up for $6.80 right here. And then lo and behold, they delivered on what they told the street they were going to do. And we've just seen new all-time high after new all-time high. And now we're in this situation where we're in price discovery. And you can see in post, we're still at this nosebleed, that 1922 area. And what happened in the chart today? So the rally really began early in the day, and it just kind of held like with good structure and then consolidated up here. And there's some pretty clear, there's a very tight price range. What we're seeing is that DWAVE kind of like when it sold off with the news about the bond market, it still held a tight price range between 15 and 16. And then for a couple of trading days, it was sitting between 16 and 1762. So I expect these levels to come into play potentially for future areas of support. So I could definitely see it bouncing here. I could see there's the 1612 has been validated a number of times. And even this 1496, we can see it bounced off of considerable amount of times already. So we're building some nice price history at this higher level. So it would really take kind of a black swan event in the wider market or some really negative, nasty press for DWAVE for them to just plummet down to pre-earnings. So the move since earnings has been remarkable. 188% move. So congratulations if you own DWAVE. If you're concerned about the stock pulling back, and someday, you know, stocks can't always go up. Someday the stock may pull back. And if you're concerned about that, you can go into your account right now and you can set a stop loss at a level that you're comfortable with. So let's say you want it to sell. If it goes down 5 or 10%, you can set that in your brokerage account. So, as always, protect yourself. I'm not here to give you financial advice or tell you what you should or shouldn't do. You should always do your own research and make your own decisions. All right, so Rigetti came back to life today as well. So if we look at 6 months on Rigetti, we've called out that this 1154 and 707, it's just kind of been trapped here, like in the basement. And you can see that it really struggled to push through 1154. It was just kind of jumping up and down around 1154 and then dropped down. And then today it had a really nice move to the upside. We see in post we're at 1358, but what price history do we have, and is this sustainable? So I actually think we're in a new price range with Rigetti. We can see that there's pretty clearly been a decent amount of price history. So I could see Rigetti rejecting off of 1460 and following a similar pattern of the past. In an ultra bullish case, if quantum continues to receive tailwinds, I could see Rigetti coming up above the 1460 and using 1468 as support. And then, of course, it would want to retest its all-time high. Rigetti is an R&D company. They're not currently making a lot of money. And even the CEO is very clear and on record saying we're a couple years out from commercialization. So what's happening here is people are making their positions early. And what I'm seeing with earnings, you guys can tell me, but does it look like the stock is flushing after earnings? It looks like investors know that this is an R&D company, and they're making their positions. And if anything, this is starting to creep back up to the quantum frenzy levels. All right, guys, we're taking a break from the quantum realm and we're going into the AI and defense realm. And we're going to look at BigBear.ai. So BigBear, so I want to show you guys for BigBear what's been really interesting since April 25th. So since April 25th, when the stock could be picked up for about $2.50, we have seen now, it doesn't happen all at once, but we see in post we're at 394. So we've seen a 60-ish% gain. And I think that I'm gonna remove drawings so you guys can see the chart a little bit better, but we have a very clear rising support building. And we have a pretty critical level, this $4 level. And it looks like BigBear is setting up to now 3 trading days. It has crested over $4. And it actually used, if we look at the day chart, it actually used $4 as support a couple times through the day. So it was trading above $4 for a good chunk of the trading day. It was also trading above $4 in the last few trading days. So why is this important? Why are we talking about these levels? Because BigBear has a tendency to move with velocity. So if we look at this chart and we see this move here, we really started this move at about $4. So I think investors are maybe thinking, is there going to be another explosive move to the upside? And is BigBear setting up for that big move they had all the way up to $10 back in February? And what we really need to see from BigBear is new contracts, some good news. Any positive press will send this stock higher, I believe. I've been an investor in BigBear since way back here. I've seen it go through its cycles. It does seem to be building up to a potential bullish breakout. We'll have to see if that manifests. All right, guys. So within 23-ish minutes, 24 minutes, we've covered the news. We've covered 6 different stocks in their price analysis, and we've covered the markets in general. If you appreciate content like this, do me a favor, leave a like, leave a comment if you are owning any of these stocks and what your thoughts or price predictions are. And as always, good luck in the market. We'll see you next time.